Masha Korpacheva is a California-based realtor and a member of the National Association of Realtors in Los Angeles. She's an advocate for selling and buying homes with soul and practicing mindfulness in real estate. With master's degrees in spiritual psychology and linguistics, Masha brings all of her skills to work with her clients. An intuit and empath, she has touched many lives with her outstanding ability to see beyond the visible and helping to come to better understanding of issues and their resolutions. An adventurous world traveler, from climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania to exploring the Galapagos Islands, Masha has a particular passion for the City of Angels. Having landed in this paradise and adopted it as her home, she's been sharing old Hollywood stories since 2007. This podcast is an invitation to feel and experience the souls of famous old Hollywood homes and to have an in-depth journey to the areas where they're located through interviews with longtime residents. Either you're a fan of old Hollywood in Los Angeles, planning to have a vacation, or, an even bigger step, considering a certain area for your future home. This is your opportunity to receive valuable information and insightful advice you won't find anywhere else. In the mood for California, feel the soul of old Hollywood.
Hello, and welcome to my podcast. Are you in the mood for California? Today, we're exploring and feeling the Ennis House, located in Los Feliz. It is an unapologetic creation of Frank Lloyd Wright. And then we'll have an interview with my friend ROBERT FYVOLENT, an Oscar-winning producer and an entertainment attorney who lives in the area, and he will share with us how he ended up choosing this beautiful place to buy a home and what it feels like to live there. And now, are you ready to feel the spirit of the Ennis House? As I approach this monumental property on a hill, I linger in awe, as if mesmerized, and an overwhelming, almost ceremonial feeling fills up my being. Going through elaborate fairy tale gates, I come up to the front door. It might as well be an entry into a pyramid. After the brightness of Los Angeles sun, a very low foyer seems even darker than it really is. The cool air envelopes my entire body. Slowly, I follow the stairs to the living room, timidly moving my feet, looking around at mysteriously ornamented blocks. Boom! All of a sudden, I find myself in a cathedral-like chamber with 21-foot-high teak ceiling. It's utterly breathtaking. If the stones were making sounds, then the symphony of this place would have a most dramatic impact. Joy and wonder take over me, and as if lost in time and space, I pause in a contemplation. This home is curious about you the same way it piques your curiosity. What did you come for? The question baffles you because you never expected that houses can speak. Never underestimate a house created by Frank Lloyd Wright. He was not only an architect, but also a philosopher. He believed in creating structures that were in harmony with humanity and its environment, so-called organic architecture, very similar to the Mayans, who believed that it is important to live in harmony with the universe and use the language of architecture to deliver their messages, both civil and symbolic. Study nature, love nature, stay close to nature. It will never fail you. A true nature devotee, Frank Lloyd Wright lived and worked till he was 92 years old and designed more than 1,000 structures, including the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. By the time Wright started his work on the Ennis House, he had already spent about 4 years in Los Angeles. He had experimented with various Mesoamerican motifs, which were gaining popularity due to the influence, naturally, of Hollywood, as Egyptian and Babylonian sets for the silent epic movie Intolerance were still governing the city's streets in 1920s, several years after the shooting was completed. Out of simplicity, purity, and complexity, at the same time, the genius of Wright gave birth to California Romanza, a neo-Mayan oeuvre designed out of over 27,000 16 by 16 inch concrete blocks patterned to resemble abstracted squares arranged across a concrete platform and buttressed by a retaining wall. There is a weight to the house like that of a castle, says the architect Leo Marmol, a partner in the renowned firm Marmol Radziner and Associates. It definitely commands the city perched atop a majestic hill in the Los Feliz neighborhood. This home is an 8,000 square feet sanctuary in its own right. Impeccably proportioned rooms flow seamlessly from one to another. 4 bedrooms, including guest apartment over garage, 3.5 bathrooms, screening billiard room, guest house, and pool. It is both powerful and surprisingly livable. Breathtaking views from downtown Los Angeles to the Pacific Ocean will keep you captivated and wanting to stay here longer. Commissioned by Charles and Mabel Ennis and completed in 1924, in 1968, when Gus Brown purchased the Ennis House for $119,000, it had been on the market for 2 years. Gus fell in love with the house and had a very long-lasting love affair with it until he died. There was a lot of controversy around its preservation, but this high-maintenance, exotic property still prevailed. Last time it was sold for $18 million in October 2019. The house was used as an apartment for Harrison Ford in Blade Runner. And just like lonesome, cynical, and jaded Deckard is struggling with the moral ambiguities of eliminating the replicants, and in the process having to come to terms with what it means to be human, to love, to live and die, the Ennis House is still in the process of learning to be one of the most majestic architectural jewels in Los Angeles and coming to acceptance of the new generation of owners. I came here to become your friend. I finally respond to the question asked by the house, and at this moment, the sunshine rays burst through the stunning art glass windows in a stylized wisteria motif, and I catch the light with my palms and draw them to my heart. In the fall of 1924, when the relationship of Frank Lloyd Wright and Charles and Mabel Ennis was falling apart, the architect wrote in his letter to them, "The final result is going to stand on that hill 100 years or more. Long after we're all gone, it be pointed out as the Ennis House, and pilgrimages will be made to it by lovers of the beautiful from everywhere." And here we are. Welcome to Los Feliz. I'm so happy to have Robert Fyvolent here with me. Robert is an Oscar-winning producer and a successful entertainment attorney, and he will share with us what it feels like to live in this wonderful area. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Masha.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and hopefully you're in the mood to share your experience of living in such a wonderful neighborhood of Los Angeles.
Of course.
Wonderful. So, why did you choose to live in Los Feliz? And what does it feel like to live in this area?
You know, I grew up in Florida, and I finished school out here. I finished law school here. And when I first moved here, I checked out all the different neighborhoods. And my first real job when I graduated was for the Walt Disney Company, and they were located in Glendale and Burbank, and I discovered Los Feliz, and I just fell in love with it. It was close to where I was working, and even though I've worked several different places in different parts of town since then, I love the area enough that I've always stayed here.
Huh. And interesting. So, what made you fall in love with Los Feliz? Was it the vibe, or was it the style of houses?
Well, I think for me, Los Feliz has a couple different unique things about it that make it different than other neighborhoods in Los Angeles that I'd explored. It's close enough that, I could get to meetings in Hollywood or Culver City or Century City, but it also feels like a neighborhood which I feel is missing from a lot of other parts of LA in a sense. I mean, we have a wonderful little Los Feliz village, and I can walk down. I'm right next to the largest park in Los Angeles, Griffith Park. So I have the Greek Theater, I have the observatory. It feels a little bit like you're outside of the city, yet close enough to enjoy all the other things that Los Angeles offers.
Right. I understand. Los Angeles is so huge, and once you find your little neighborhood where you feel cozy and that you can get around very fast, that's really, really important. Sure. Yes. And I assume you like to enjoy an active social life, like restaurants, theaters, stores, right?
One of my passions is music, and I love the fact that on a nice night I can walk to the Greek Theater if there's a show I want to see. There's other great music venues in the neighborhood, and so that's one of the things I also really like about this area.
Great. Yeah. So it sounds like Los Feliz is very conducive to your lifestyle.
I think so. Yeah.
That's great. Wonderful. Okay. And what does your home mean to you?
Well, my home is, really the center of my life, especially, with COVID. I've worked at home. My wife and I really just get so much joy out of our house. I mean, we live up in the hills. We have a beautiful view of the city. Like I said, there's so many places we can walk to, when we want to go out. But, we also enjoy having a meal at home and, watching the sunsets or sitting in our backyard by a fire pit. And yeah, it's just a great part of our lives.
Yes, I know. And you're such a generous and such a hospitable family. And your wife, Brittany, is like the most amazing host ever.
Thank you.
No, thank you. And what would you say is the heart of your home? What is your favorite place where you like to spend most of your time?
When I bought an old 1930s Spanish house, this is the house I'm living in. And when I moved in, the person who had been here before me had been here for 50 years. So
oh, wow.
She obviously loved the house as well. She lived here until she passed away. But when I moved in, I feel like the house needed to be modernized in a sense. But one of the things I really love about Los Feliz is the character and the style of houses and sort of the old Hollywood feel. And so I wanted to keep the house as authentic as possible to the kind of 30s Spanish style. So when I added or I, did work on the house, I did things that I thought would stay within the character, but would also make the house, sort of more user friendly. And one of the things I did was in my dining room, there was a big picture window that had an amazing view of the city facing west. But I really wanted to enjoy that more. So I built a deck out onto the front of the house so that the dining room now opens up onto that deck. And we spend a lot of time sitting out there and just enjoying the view. And, it's kind of like a second living room for us.
Right. You do have an amazing deck, and I want to acknowledge you. What an amazing job you did with renovating your house. It looks and feels absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So buying a home is sometimes the biggest investment a person makes in their lifetime. How did buying a home affect the quality of your life?
Well, I mean, it is a big decision, and it's something that, I guess to talk about the cliche a little bit, there is sort of a pride of ownership, and it's certainly rented many properties throughout my life. But owning a house, does feel like it gives you that extra ability to kind of make it your own and sort of make it feel like, it's literally a member of the family in a sense. So it's also from a financial standpoint, feels like it adds stability because, every mortgage payment is growing, the equity that you have in the property. And at least for me, it's always turned out to be the best investment of any investment I've made in my life. So.
Interesting. Wow. Yes, and I like how you say that the house is almost like a member of your family. And also, probably it explains you being from Florida and wanting to establish your own life in California. And you needed to kind of like put down your roots here and feel grounded and have your own place.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's why buying a home had such an effect on you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And well, you're an attorney.
I am.
And, a lot of different rules and laws. So, from a legal perspective, what would you say are the most important things you need to pay attention to when purchasing a home? Or maybe what were the things that you personally paid attention to?
Well, I mean, I think, with any significant purchase, I mean, when you buy a car or you buy something else, you test drive different cars. If you're buying a used car, you have a mechanic look at it. I mean, the same thing applies really to a home. I mean, you want to make sure that you may like the neighborhood, but you want to make sure that the street that you're on, is has all the things you're looking for. And it's good to talk to neighbors before you purchase a property. Something I did when I bought this house.
Oh, wow.
I mean, for me, you want to do all the right things. You want to have a great inspection, find out if there's any issues that aren't, necessarily visible. You want to have all your finances in order, work with a lender or somebody that you trust in terms of helping you structure it the right way and finance it the right way that suits your particular financial outlook and needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and how you approached buying a home. Very interesting. Thank you. And now let's go to our Blitz questions.
Okay.
What is your favorite local store?
My favorite local store is probably, I'm not sure if a restaurant is included, but actually, I think you're going to ask me about my favorite restaurant. So, all the little stores on Hillhurst are great. My wife and I are kind of antique and thrift store shoppers, so we think there's a great Goodwill store in Los Feliz where we found a lot of interesting things. So I would probably say that's a place we spend some time. So
Right, it's very good for treasure hunting, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is your favorite coffee place nearby?
I really like the place Maru that's down on Hillhurst. It's kind of unique, and there's always a line outside, but it's worth it. The coffee's great. Sometimes when I'm working during the day, I'll walk over for my afternoon dose of caffeine, and that's one of the places I go. There's so many coffee places. Probably it's an LA thing, but I think Los Feliz has more than its fair share of choices.
Right. Well, I'll have to try out Maru sometime soon. Very nice. Okay, where can you take the best photos that will make Los Feliz recognizable right away?
Well, I'd have to say the observatory. I mean, it's a famous view of Los Angeles. The observatory itself is just a spectacular structure. I mean, I think it's probably one of the most interesting buildings in maybe the country, but certainly in Los Angeles. There's incredible views, 360 degrees. You can see the Hollywood sign from there. You can see, on a clear day, you can see the ocean, Hollywood, most of the city. It's a great hike up there. If you start down by the Greek Theater, it's, not so challenging that the average person can't do the hike in 30, 40 minutes. And it's probably my favorite place in terms of views.
Yes, couldn't agree more with you. Observatory is amazing. It's beautiful. Okay, and where can you see the most beautiful sunsets?
Right from the deck we talked about.
Very true.
I mean, I think, there's a lot of views in Los Feliz and in other parts of Los Angeles where the view faces south, but our house actually sits on a hill that faces west. And so we really have a front row seat for amazing sunsets.
Beautiful. That is so special. Okay, and you were trying to tell me what your favorite restaurant is earlier, but I'll ask you right now, what is your favorite local restaurant?
I mean, there's some really good restaurants here, and I think we're starting to get some new ones, but we like to walk on Sunday mornings down to a place called the Mustard Seed. It's a very small place, but they have great breakfast and can sit outside on a Sunday, and there's, lots of activity, people walking around. It's sort of one of those experiences that really reminds you that you're in a neighborhood, even though you're in a big city. And food is great. They're always nice there, and we take our dog down there with us, and it's fun. It's good.
Very cool. Okay, taking note of Mustard Seed.
Yep.
Okay, and what are the best streets to go for walks? And I'm sure you like taking your dog around with you.
Yeah, I mean, even just walking down Los Feliz Boulevard, with all the tall trees. I mean, it's a beautiful walk. Like I said, we're next to the biggest park in Los Angeles, so there's incredible walks up into Griffith Park, up to the observatory, to the Greek. If you walk east, you can get to the LA River. There's a great bike path there. You can walk to restaurants. There's a lot going on in Frogtown, which is nearby, and something that is close enough that you can enjoy. So yeah, it's the neighborhood here is really, it's hilly, but there's some great walks and looking at houses and the architecture and all of that. So
yes, beautiful. Well, now you make me want to move to Los Feliz.
All right. Okay.
It's a wonderful, wonderful area, and I love it dearly, and I love your family very much. And
thanks.
Thank you so much for joining me today and helping to explore Los Feliz. And I enjoyed our conversation very much, and I learned many new different things from an insider.
Well, thanks for letting me, share my stories and my perspective. So, it's fun to talk about it. So
absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye, Robert.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed experiencing the Ennis House and getting a feel of Los Feliz with our special guest, Robert FYVOLENT. Please share your feedback for the podcast. Your time and support are greatly appreciated. Next time, we are traveling to Beverly Hills to visit the former estate of Rudolph Valentino and Doris Duke. Falcon Lair is waiting for us. See you there.
In the mood for California, feel the soul of Old Hollywood.